Affirmative action was introduced after the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Its intent was to provide equal opportunity for minority groups and women in labor and education. Implemented by the government, it had to be constantly enforced to ensure that employers were actively taking a responsibility to fair hiring and advancement practices. My father was one such hire in 1976 to the Seattle Police Department. Felicito Abili Jr. was born in a military hospital, the Pink Hospital, on the island of Oahu in Hawaii of 1950. First generation on his father's side and second generation on his mother's side, he was a Filipino American who knew little about racism on an island dominated by Asians and Pacific Islanders.
Hawaii is such a broad mix of cultures, and coupled with the fact that I was pretty young at that time growing up, and the mixture of cultures all around me, that I did not feel that at all.
After high school, he attended college and soon traveled to the mainland to finish his degree and look for greater job opportunities. He believed that someday he would become a police officer and was given the opportunity when he was accepted to the academy for the Seattle Police Department. If he didn't know before he was hired, he soon found out after that he was an affirmative action hire.
I was told by a lieutenant that Seattle Police doesn't hire my kind of people, and that the only reason why I was there is because the federal government made them take me.
Regardless of how the department felt about his hiring, he was determined to prove himself in the classroom and on the training field. His trainers and the administration were not going to make it easy for him.
One thing bothered me is they made it feel as if my scores weren't as high as everyone else. So I did a check on my scores with civil service, and I was told by civil service that I did very excellent in my written exam. So that's another negative they tried to throw at me also.
After leaving Seattle Police, he applied to several other precincts and was hired on to the Kitsap County Police Department. But it wasn't without the help of some of the Filipino community members.
Well, when I got hired with Kitsap County, I was very surprised that I was hired, first of all. I know that a very good Filipino community leader had mentioned to the sheriff at that time that I was on the list to be hired. I know that they hired 7 on that list before me, and the Filipino community leader had said something to the sheriff about my name being on the list. I believe I was the only minority on the hiring list.
It was not going to be easy here either, and though the department seemed more welcoming, there was still some racist treatment from his co-workers.
And I had one particular deputy that on my first day of hire, I don't know, or shortly after I got hired, approached me and confronted me and wanted to let me know that he was prejudiced towards minorities. He was a traffic officer, and he was pretty big guy, probably about 6'2", and kind of a big individual and officer. And I remember him looking and kind of snickering at me when I was introduced, and he made the comment of, "We have this quote unquote. We have a Jap." And we did. There was a Japanese officer and myself, as far as I know, minorities in the department. He made the comment, quote unquote, we have a Jap, now we have a flip, now all we need is a nigger and we can be like Seattle.
Through all this adversity, he toughed it out and gained the respect of his co-workers as a person who was just as qualified and capable of being a police officer as the rest of them.
And I believe I proved myself to him, as I believe I did throughout my career. With everybody I met, I always felt the need to prove that I was as good or not better than anyone else in my line of work.
Even though he faced adversity as a police officer from administration and coworkers, Not a day goes by that he isn't happy with his decision to stick it out and follow his dream of becoming a police officer.
I'm glad that I weathered the storm and persevered and fought all the negativism that was thrown at me, and was still able to complete my career and finish off as a detective and serve for 33 years with Kitsap County Sheriff's Office.